Okay, so the Hindu push-up, an excellent push-up variation. It's great for shoulder mobility, and it's also going to introduce a little bit of overhead work. So if you're someone that conventionally lifts weights, you will likely do bench press and quite possibly military press. So when it comes to our bodyweight training, we have those movement planes as well. So we have our horizontal press, which would be our bench press, would be our standard push-up. And there's a whole series of push-ups that have you pressing this way, and the Hindu push-up is the gateway to those. So to get started, I'm going to start on all fours, hands about shoulder distance apart. I'm going to tuck my toes and I'm going to bring my hips straight up. So some of you may recognize this as a downward facing dog. So if I'm really tight in the hamstrings and my calves and my heels are all the way up here, I can open my feet a little bit wider, and it's going to give me a little bit more space and help me sit back a little bit more, okay? And therein lies our first cue. We want to push ourselves backwards. So I want to try and bring my chest this direction. So I'm really trying to get into that almost completely overhead position, right? So I sit my hips back. From here, I'm going to place the weight into my hands. I'm going to start rolling forward onto the ball of my foot. Keep my elbows tightly packed, so I don't want to let my elbows flare out to the side. Bring myself through, so my chin goes between my hands, my chest, and finally my hips. So you may recognize this as upward facing dog. So my hips are lower than my shoulders, my elbows are locked straight, and I'm tilting my chin ever so slightly upwards. From here, I'm just going to bring my hips back to reset and go again. Okay, a couple of technical notes here. One, we don't just want to let momentum kind of bring us through, right? We want to make sure that we guide ourselves. We're under control the entire time. Secondly, I already mentioned it, we want to be guarded against letting the elbows flare out. We want to pack the elbows in as tight as we can and keep them as close to our ribs as possible. Third thing that I notice a lot when people do this push-up, not straightening the arms here. So we want to take those arms to a nice lockout. And finally, eye line. Don't look down, tilt the chin ever so slightly up. And then when we reset from this position, you should be looking right between your knees, okay? That's the Hindu push-up. Great goal to have for yourself. 3 sets, 15 repetitions.